What happens when you wield power that is beyond your realm of understanding? What would it really mean to bear such absolute power if you're a stranger to its very nature? I think these are questions Kagurabachi poses in such a way that only elevates its commentary on this burden of power. Cause over 100 chapters in, the conversation surrounding the Enchanted Blades has changed quite a bit. The little we know about the history and lore behind Datenseki and the Seitei War, we've been drip-fed as the story has progressed, and through the perspectives of Sojo, Samura, Yura, and Soga, a lot is said about the Enchanted Blades, but there is some truth to what each and every one of them has to offer to the conversation. What is their place in the world of Kagurabachi really, and who exactly gets to make that call? The man who created them himself said that the Enchanted Blades and katanas in general should be wielded with the intention of rooting out evil and protecting the weak. Yet he also acknowledges that at the end of the day, they're still tools for killing people. But the Enchanted Blades aren't mere katanas, so I'm not sure it's really appropriate to dump them down as such. Datenseki is of course what makes these blades so special, an ore that can only be described as capable of amplifying spirit energy into its most powerful state. It's important for me to separate the simple weapon that is a normal katana from the source of incredible power that is Datenseki. In the 22 years since its discovery, the scarce material has only been stabilized by Kunishige Rokuhira, and only 250 kilograms of it are known to exist. Now during wartime, it makes sense why it would be used as a source for the creation of such cataclysmic weapons to guarantee victory for Japan. We know the Shikoku invaders also wielded Datenseki as weapons, albeit differently of course, due to their natural resistance to the stone's effects. But what would it look like if Datenseki was used for non-violent purposes? And could it have possibly been used in such a way back in Shikoku? Despite its scarcity, think about how Datenseki as well as the Enchanted Blades could be used in the best interest of the people, their safety, health, and well-being. Potentially even advancements in infrastructure and overall enhancing the people's quality of life. Is that even possible? I'd say the Enchanted Blades have proven themselves to be much more than just weapons, and the True Realm basically allows for endless possibilities when it comes to their utility. This has been proven over and over again by the best two Enchanted Blade bearers, Soga and Samura. But even looking back at a character like Genichi Sojo, we can see how a bloodthirsty lunatic is just as capable of deepening his understanding of an Enchanted Blade. I mean, he's the only one who's come even remotely close to Kunishige Rokuhira in terms of stabilizing Datenseki. Now of course, Sojo believed that the Enchanted Blade's purpose was for them to serve as instruments of slaughter. Cloud Gouger harmonized with Sojo's convictions and in a way proved them to be true. At the end of the day, these are blades that were forged during times of war. With the intention of defeating the enemy, they were designed to take lives as much as they were designed to protect them. The Enchanted Blades in general channel such a great power that once they're out in the world, Kunishige's legacy is essentially out of his own hands. That's what Sojo is able to express to Chihiro when he says that anybody can speak for his father. And it's something Chihiro acknowledges to solidify his own resolve. But for a guy like Samura, it's not really about the Enchanted Blades. It's more about the sins of the ones who wielded them, specifically Akemura Soga and himself. Even though there's still so much we don't know about the Seitei War, we can deduce that Samura and Soga were likely the biggest players, using these weapons of mass destruction to seal the victory for Japan. If Samura really controlled the war like Yura says, then it's really worth wondering just how much blood is on his hands, since that would only add to why Samura felt as guilty as he did. Even though he was aware that the Enchanted Blades were the problem, he had a whole plan to kill the bearers and then bring them back with Suzaku to then kill Soga for good, willing to sacrifice himself and yet seemingly had nothing to take care of the blades themselves. What I'm trying to say is that while Sojo had a very twisted view of the purpose of the Enchanted Blades, Samura actually builds on that through line by bringing forward the idea that it's the wielder who ultimately has the power and thus the responsibility of using the Enchanted Blades to root out evil and protect the weak. Which at this point, I think it's pretty clear that this is a motto that Kunishige, Samura, Soga, and presumably all the bearers once upheld. In my video on the Hishaku, I posed the question, if the Enchanted Blades are capable of rooting out evil and protecting the weak, then who has the right to decide against that? The reality is that Kagurabachi has proven that neither the question nor the answer are as straightforward as some might think. Because I guess the bigger question would be, who gets to decide what evil is in the first place? Samura told Uruha that the sword bearers were a filthier evil than the Hishaku for covering up Soga's crimes, and although it was part of an act, there's definitely some truth to that. See, let's look at Yura. Unlike Samura, Yura wasn't driven by what was done with the Enchanted Blades. It's the idea that the blades were taken away when the people needed them the most. After the Seitei War, the heroes were no longer around to save lives, Instead, along with the Kamunabi, they even hid the truth from the same people they were no longer protecting to avoid the backlash. Yura argues that the swordbearers had no right to just walk away given their roles as heroes, the power they wield, and all the good that could be done with it. But what's funny is, of course, that the hero Yura ends up giving his body for is the evil Samura intended to root out. The one who saved Japan, only to wipe out a whole 200,000 lives in an island that had already surrendered. And if it wasn't for that, Kunishige would almost certainly have not taken back the Enchanted Blades. However, he did take them back and locked them away, and with them, any chance of them being used to bring peace. At the time of recording, we don't know yet what else led to Kunishige making this decision, specifically the nature of the invasion and how exactly Japan got their hands on Datsenseki in the first place. The reveal of a false flag operation, or Japan actually having secretly stolen Datsenseki first, would change everything. I mean, did Kunishige himself even grasp entirely the potential and possibilities of Datsenseki when forging the blades? It's not crazy at all to think that at some point he realized that he had tampered with something he shouldn't have. Yeah, from his perspective at the time, their backs were against the wall and it was likely a matter of survival. But like I said, we'll have to wait to find out everything that led up to the forging of the Enchanted Blades, as well as locking them away after the malediction. Yura was willing to put an enchanted blade in the hands of Sojo of all people, even if just as means to an end. He fanned the flames of a fire he intended on putting out. In that sense, it's not too different from how Samura made a deal with Yura to advance his own plan. For both, it was the aftermath of Soga's actions what led them down their respective paths. But where Samura witnessed the horrors that the Enchanted Blades were capable of in the hands of a monster, Yura witnessed his own horrors because the same blades were no longer around to protect nobodies like him. What's also interesting to me is how Yura and then Soga inadvertently bring forward this idea of malleable evil, like evil that can take different forms to justify someone's actions depending on the context or circumstances. You know, they would say that it's all for the greater good, or that the ends justify the means. It's reflected through that kind of ideology. In reality, evil is something that they both are, but also claim to be against. They wielded Magatsumi with that conviction. Soga especially. No other bearer comes close to what Soga is able to do with Magatsumi, and we still don't know exactly how much of that can be attributed to himself or the blade. Regardless, we see that from Soga's perspective, that's what it takes to bear such unfathomable power. Absolute power is wielded with absolute conviction. Now, the irony speaks for itself. The one enchanted blade known for draining life being the one that leads the charge to protect lives is not it. Magatsumi and the other 5 original blades were the answer back during the Seitei War. But in present day, their existence might just be the problem. Samura did call them relics of the past. So let's look at the other enchanted blades for a moment. Cloud Gouger's weather-based abilities led to popular sayings like rain without clouds, evildoers are doomed. Hail in summer, evildoers will perish. And thunder without black clouds, the sound of evildoers meeting their demise. These come from Ibuki Misaka's feats with the blade, and it's about the only thing we know in regards to the kind of impact both Cloud Gouger and himself had during the war, similar to how the legend of the Phoenix refers to Samura. Interestingly enough, Ibuki was considered to be on par with Samura as a swordsman. Now we know Tobimune was originally crafted for support, and its abilities really reflect that. We've seen enough to imagine how powers like Crow and Suzaku were used to put the other enchanted blade wielders in positions to succeed, and protect Japan from further destruction. Kumeyuri is where I feel like things get a bit interesting. I mean, to start, Kunishige selected a 17-year-old in Uruha as its wielder. So make of that what you will. We do know that Uruha was a prodigy at the time, and Kumeyuri's purpose was stated to be the skill of living, or in other words, the art of surviving. Now we've only seen Hiruhiko wield Kumeyuri, and he was originally incompatible with it because of his contempt for all things. Knowing Uruha, that does tell us a bit about why it was Kunishige thought that it suited him. But again, we can only imagine how he, as a naturally compatible wielder, fulfilled the blade's purpose. There's 2 blades that at this point we've yet to see, so there's nothing I can really say about those. And I've already talked a bit about Magatsumi, so I think it's about time I bring up Enten. As we all know, the 7th enchanted blade, and the only one forged by both Kunishige and Chihiro with the intention of destroying Magatsumi. Enten was designed to literally undo what Kunishige once saw as the solution to the problem at hand, and is the only blade forged with an entirely different intention. That's why Soga vs Chihiro is really the old legacy of Kunishige versus his new one. Soga saved Japan with Magatsumi, but his means only paved the way for more conflict and bloodshed. And it's really emblematic of the duality of the Enchanted Blades and why so much about them kind of feels contradictory. I talked about how Soga and Yura ironically illustrate this idea of malleable evil. And that now brings me to the True Realm, the malleable component of the Enchanted Blades that allows the wielder to transcend and infinitely transform its theoretical limits. Like Yura told Chihiro at the Rakuzaichi, anyone can enslave the Enchanted Blades. We know that they can be compromised from their true intent. Sojo and Hiruhiko proved that to be the case by going as far as scratching the surface of their respective True Realms. But I believe that the True Realm can be pushed the farthest when the bearer's intentions align with the purpose the Enchanted Blade was forged with. I think that's what we've witnessed with Chihiro and Enten, Samura and Tobimune, and potentially even Akemura Soga if Magatsumi's nature was always to drain life. Because it could also be that it was Soga's beliefs after joining the war, along with his resolve and unparalleled skills as a swordsman, what allowed him to bend the blade to his will. After all, the true realm of an enchanted blade conforms to its master, and this would mean that Soga also compromised Magatsumi from its true intent. Beyond the true realm, however, there is the dark power, a power that comes from sacrificing life, a realm that even Kunishige himself couldn't fathom. Magatsumi is the only enchanted blade that commands this power all the time. Again, we don't know for sure if this is the doing of Soga and his true realm, or if this is something intrinsic to the blade itself. Cause see, the other blades always had the power to channel the dark power as well, and that's evidenced by how Cloud Gouger sacrificed itself to do so. Chihiro says that the enchanted blades have a sort of conceptual life, and that only when they are at the brink of death can they channel this power. It looks like once again it will be used to destroy an enchanted blade, as this time it's Tobimune that will seemingly be sacrificed to bring back Samura. As the ultimate hidden knowledge of the enchanted blades, it really reinforces the idea that there is so much left to learn about them. So after all this yap, what can be done with the kind of power that isn't fully understood? And who even has the responsibility of bearing such power? I don't think it's a surprise to anyone when I say that the answer lies within Chihiro. He's the one who's gonna have to clean up the mess made with the enchanted blades and match Akemura Soga's level of conviction. I've referenced Uncle Ben's iconic "with great power comes great responsibility" quote before, but I recently read Chojin X, and the GOAT Sandek says, "With great power comes the potential for great chaos." And I couldn't help but think of the enchanted blades and how they embody the overarching message of both quotes. This is something Chihiro understands. He was raised with the blades, and by the man who forged them for the sake of Japan, but who also then decided it was best to take them back. Kunishige even told Chihiro, and I quote, "They aren't the right answer. You can't just strive to make the enchanted blades. You have to look at the world through your own eyes and think carefully of what type of katana it needs and why." By reforging Enten along with what remains of Cloud Gouger, Chihiro finally does that. We see how he thinks of Sojo, Hiyuki, Kyora, and Yura, and their ideals in regards to the enchanted blades, which have certainly impacted his own. Whether the problem of the enchanted blades lies in their existence or in their absence, Chihiro will forge the solution. I think Chihiro has seen with his own eyes that Enten wasn't just forged to destroy the Shinuchi and the other enchanted blades, but also replace them as the answer. With him having to reforge Enten, he no longer latches on to simply what his father thought was right. He gets to decide for himself, and alone, he forges the katana the world needs. Looking back, the sword bearers were granted power beyond anything they could ever imagine, and did what they believed was right and necessary to save Japan. However, in the process, I feel like they exposed that there has to be more to the enchanted blades, more to Datenseki and its potential to be used for something other than weapons. And after seeing Chihiro forge his new blade, I can't help but feel like this is it. A tool for saving people, not for killing. Whether killing is killing or whether not all killing is the same will always be up for debate. Chihiro will continue to kill if he has to. I mean, he knows he has to slay Soga, but I don't think that's the intention he reforges Enten with. Even Enten was originally forged to destroy the other blades, but I think this time Chihiro reforges it with the intention of creating a peaceful world. A world no longer burdened with the sins from the past, but one that looks towards the future, with Chihiro Rokuhira as its hero. He's the only one capable of truly understanding the enchanted blades and what makes them what they are. Thus, he's the only one who should bear such power. I believe Chihiro ultimately acknowledges why Yura did what he did. He'll use the reforged Enten to rewrite the legacy of Kunishige. In the process, he'll forge his own legacy, and prove what it really means to root out evil and protect the weak. That's all I got for this one. What's your take on the Enchanted Blades and this whole conversation on absolute power? I might have not answered every question I raised in this video, but I hope I at least did enough to get your gears turning. Feel free to go off in the comments. I can't lie, it feels good to be back with another video. Thanks for watching and staying until the end. Before I get out of here, I gotta say I really appreciate everyone that has become part of the community we're building over at the Hishaku hideout. Genuinely. So thanks for sticking around. Much love and take care. Peace.